Hi there and welcome, my Stampin' Peace friends. It's good to see you, or I should say good to be with you. It is Thursday, January 30th, right at the end of January. Where has the month gone? Some people I hear are saying that January is a very long month for them. To me, it's just flown by. If you were not with me on Tuesday's Facebook Live, we saw some cards made with the Celebration heart-shaped stamp set and dies. So this has posted to my website and blog, stampinpeace.com. So if you missed that, this is a little fun fold. If you missed that, please go to stampinpeace.com and check it out. Today I'm featuring another Celebration stamp set. This one is Corner in Bloom, and I'm going to make two cards with that, but each of them I am combining a second stamp set with it. So I'm excited to show you today's card making demonstration. I'm going to flip my camera around now. While I do that, please invite others to join this demonstration by sharing the video. And if you're watching on replay later, please share the video replay as well. Okay, here we go. Let's see. So once again, Corner in Bloom is the featured stamp set. Look, I have ink under my nail there. And with the first card, I'm using one of the stamps from the Spring Corners bundle. And this is a bundle that is in our January to April mini catalog. Okay. And I felt like the two stamp sets really paired very well together. So the first thing I'm going to do for my first card is some stamping. And this white cardstock measures 4.5 by 3.25 inches. 4.5 by 3.25 inches. And my first stamp says, wishing you an amazing day. And this comes from that Spring Corners bundle in the mini catalog. And when you're inking this, I'm just going to suggest, because you don't need to press the whole block in there, but to get each side of the stamp, you might want to do something like that. Because you do need this large of a clear block to fit this properly. But you also don't want to use so much ink or press so hard that you're getting ink in places where you don't want it. Now I'm going to stamp this one from that Celebration set, Corner in Bloom. Patty, I'm glad you found me. Oops, I just inked up the wrong color. I don't want to stamp this in Highland Heather like I did the sentiment. So let me just clean it off with my chamois. I cut my chamois in half and stuck it in one of these old wood stamp cases. Just takes up a little less space on my craft table. So this is basic gray I'm stamping with. I can see I didn't get quite enough ink in that corner. So I'm going to re-ink it. And remember, when you're using a photopolymer set, like both of these are, photopolymer means they're clear. We can see right through those stamps. If you're using those, you do want to have a Stampin' Pierce mat underneath, or even if you have the silicone craft sheet, that will work. If you don't have either of those, an old mouse pad, what else? Perhaps an old phone book or catalog, that sort of thing. Just something that gives it a little cushion. Photopolymer stamps are flexible, but they are a solid material, so they don't give like the red rubber stamps do. That's why we encourage people to use something like this to get better stamped images with the photopolymer stamps. So I'm using Granny Apple Green and what's the other one? Highland Heather Stampin' Blends. You can color with any of your favorite coloring tools. This would be a great one to use. Your watercolor pencils. You can also use your Stampin' Write markers. The blends are my go-to coloring tools. My second would be the watercolor pencils, because you can use them like regular color pencils, or you can color and then just blend them slightly with an aqua painter or a blender pen to kind of get rid of those coloring lines you would see. So after my doing my sample, I decided doing the leaves and stems on here would be easier, because I was getting a little mixed up with some of the petals and leaves. I'm going to switch this end. With some of the petals and leaves. So when I started with the Highland Heather, so I decided to start with my leaves and stems, and that sort of creates a backdrop or a background for me to better see the flower petals. When I use Stampin' Blends, I typically, not always, but typically start with the darker shade and put that darker shade where I would want some detail. And a lot of times, just like on this, on the leaves here, that line in the center of the leaves, I use that as my guide as to where I want to put the darker shade. And then I fill in with the lighter shade. And then I'm going to use Highland Heather. Now, the flowers are solid. They don't have any extra lines in them for details, but I'm just putting a little bit of the dark Highland Heather in the center of each of these flowers. Those little buds, closed buds, I'm going to just fill in with the dark shade of the Highland Heather. The others, I'm just putting a little of that dark shade right in the center of the open flowers. You can see it's really quick. I'm not worrying about being perfect. If you're close, trust me, it's going to look like you're accurate. Oh goodness, what happened there? Oh, I must have worn that out. Okay, we will use the other end, and I will have to invest in a new set of the Highland Heather markers. I guess when I've worn out my tools, that means they have been very loved and very used, right? And that does happen. This first set of Stampin' Blends, I can tell you, I've had for years, like so many years I can't even count. When they come out with a new color of Stampin' Blends, I always get them. I've replaced some of the most popular colors that I've used, but probably just a handful I can think of. Daffodil Delight was one, Smoky Slate, Crumb Cake. So they really do last a very long time, which all of us can appreciate, right? It's an investment in our hobby. If you're using the wide tip, or what I call the paintbrush end of your Stampin' Blends, you really just need to touch the tip and kind of drag it. Think of it as using a paintbrush, not so much as coloring like with pencils or crayons or regular markers. Okay. Kathy, I would say somebody may have figured out a way to re-ink these. You cannot use regular re-inkers that we use to ink up our ink pads. That is a different type of ink. This is alcohol-based ink. That is why they dry so quickly. It's also why we are able to blend them. The ink pads and re-inkers are water-based, as are the Stampin' Right markers, our original markers. So no, you do not want to, definitely do not want to ink them up with our traditional re-inkers. Now, if there is somebody, a chemist or somebody who likes to experiment with that kind of thing, they may have come up with some kind of solution to refill their alcohol markers. But quite honestly, my time is more valuable than that, and I don't really trust myself with that kind of thing. So I will just add another set of the Highland Heather blends to, looks like it cracked there. I must have dropped it or something, maybe when I was traveling with it. So it does look like that's cracked, and that's why that happened. I will say, and I'm not, this is obviously user error. If it's got a crack like that, somewhere along the line, maybe I dropped it on the floor and stepped on it, or who knows. So that's not something I would call Stampin' Up. And like I said, I've used it for years and years and years, probably at least 6 years. Now, if something like that would happen very soon after you get it, please do call Stampin' Up, and they will work with you on a solution. All right, just want to put that out there because they are very good about that. They have very good customer service. If you've had it longer than 60, 90 days, I think it's 90 days, they probably would not replace it because of people using it in that time, okay? But please know that anytime you have a customer service issue, you are welcome to call me or call the demonstrator that you purchased your product from, or you can call Stampin' Up directly. And it's easy to remember their phone number, Stampin' Up, or let me think, no. 1-800-STAMP-UP, STAMPUP, 1-800-STAMP-UP. And it's the same number for demonstrator support as customer support. Demonstrators, they ask us to put in a demonstrator number. If you don't have a demonstrator number, you hold on the line and they will take care of you very quickly. I cannot say I love Stampin' Up. I love their products, but quite honestly, I cannot say enough good things about their demonstrator service and their quality or customer service. And they stand behind their products. When you're investing in a hobby or anything, really, you want to be sure you're getting good quality products, right? And you want to work with companies that stand behind their products, that are reputable. And I truly, truly, truly appreciate that about Stampin' Up. And I must be out of, we'll use these. I must be out of, not out of, I just need to put a new pack of regular size dimensionals at my work surface. I worked down here a lot yesterday. Starting to get my energy back and some more stamina, which is making me so happy. But still trying not to overdo it. You know, there's a fine line, isn't there? The good question, Kathy. The cardstock base, card base is Highland Heather, so same color as the ink. And the cardstock, I've matted my stamped white cardstock on is Gorgeous Grape. So Highland Heather and Gorgeous Grape. Okay. Quick and easy, right? Okay. I am going to add just, well, this is my sample. And I felt like I needed a little more, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted. So I tried this little bow. Before I put a bow on this, I'm going to just set this aside and let you guys think on that. What would you do to embellish this? Okay, so put your comments in, put your ideas in the comments, okay? Now for the next card, so I'm just going to leave this here so you can think about it. For the next card, I'm using the largest stamp from the Corner and Bloom stamp set. And I need to ink this up with basic gray. And when you have a stamp this large, obviously the block, the stamp, it's larger than the surface of the ink pad. So I think the easiest way to ink that up is to flip it over and kind of do the opposite of what we're used to doing. Usually our ink pad is down and we tap our stamp into it. This time I've got my block with the stamp down and I'm tapping the ink directly onto it that way. I should say the ink pad. Now the basic white I'm stamping on here measures 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. And originally I was just going to stamp this directly on a basic white thick cardstock. But then I thought, but if I'm using Stampin' Blends, some of the color bleeds through to the back, right? And I don't want somebody to open up the card and see that. So I decided I would use a Highland Heather card base and then just trim this down. And I could even trim it down to 5 1/4 by 4 inches. I just left that tiny little, we'll be leaving that tiny little border of cardstock. So same thing as before, I'm going to just quickly color these images. Is this the dark one? No, it's not. How many of you have Stampin' Blends? They really are my very favorite coloring tool we have. And whether you have the Stampin' Blends or not, tell me, what is your favorite coloring tool? You could use ink pads and blender pens together. These Stampin' Blends, Stampin' Write markers. What else do we have? Watercolor pencils, right? So I'm filling in all the stems, but also that extra bit of detail on the leaves, kind of that, I guess you call them the vein of the leaves, right? And remember, kind of think of the Stampin' Blend as a paintbrush when you're using the large tip, the large paintbrush tip, and even when you're coloring very small areas, because you just need to touch the tip and drag it. You don't need to color the same way you would with crayons or perhaps traditional markers or colored pencils. Okay, then I'm going to fill in with the light shade of Granny Apple Green. I typically just work with the color Stampin' Blends in the pairs, the light and dark shade, but you can also blend different colors. Like maybe you would want to try a garden green in the center and the Granny Apple Green. Or maybe you would want to make these a little lighter in shade and incorporate some maybe soft seafoam or more of a yellowy yellow-green. You could add some yellow highlights in there. And of course, if you're blending with the green, that's not going to look yellow, but it will give you a truly different shade of green. And that's not something we can do with our other coloring tools. Blending with different colors to me is a little bit intimidating. That's something I've tried it. It's something I need to work on practicing. I find using the two shades, the light and dark shades of the same color, very easy. But again, takes practice. Not a lot. You know, if you're starting out with Stampin' Blends or you feel a little intimidated by them, just buy a couple pairs of your favorite colors and practice with those, just using the light and dark shade of the same color. And remember, when we try anything new, we're stepping out of our comfort zone a little bit, but that's also how we learn, by stepping out of our comfort zone. And the more we learn, the more creativity, the more creative we get, I should say. So by all means, I'm encouraging you, step out of your comfort zone. Oh, Lori, watercoloring. Okay, I have not done a watercolor demonstration in a long time. I will add that to my list. In fact, I think I know exactly what stamp set I would use to demonstrate some easy watercoloring for all of you. Okay, now I will quickly do the flowers. Again, I'm using Highland Heather filling in some of those detailed areas and the centers of the flowers with the darkest shade. And just for ease, I'm going to fill in the closed flower buds with the dark shade only. Michelle, I'm like you. I don't often take the time to do the watercoloring, but I do love the results. And quite honestly, Stampin' Up! Makes it easy for us to feel like real artists when we use the aqua painters and things like that. Does anybody have the Corner and Bloom stamp set from Celebration? And does anybody have, what was the other one? Spring Corners from the mini catalog. Somebody, a customer asked me very recently, do we have any more, do we have any vertical sentiments? And she was already of the Happy Birthday vertical sentiment from, I think it's in the So Sincere stamp set. But that is the only one we have right now. And she was interested in more, which we don't have anymore at this time. But I told her, take a look at the Spring Corners stamp set in the mini. And she was not aware of that one. So I have a feeling she's adding that to her list. Now, I will say this looks like an awful lot of coloring, doesn't it? I like to color. Many people do. I realize some people don't like to color. But if you notice, I can do this pretty quickly. And I think you can too. And you see how I'm just following some of the lines in the stamped images as to where I'm going to put that darker shade. And now I pulled the wrong end again. And now I'm just going to go back in and fill those in with a lighter shade. Here's a place where you could add a different color, maybe fresh freesia here with the dark shade of Highland Heather. I think that would be pretty. But again, I typically just find it quick and easy to stick to light and dark shade of the same color. Have any of you ever blended more than one color? I don't mean light and dark shades, but more than one color. Oh, Nancy James, you got the Corner and Blooms. Oh, you didn't see it. Oh, darn. Oh, I will say, I'm not sure if I mentioned this earlier, that Corner and Blooms is available with a $120 purchase. Okay, remember there are 2 products in the Celebration catalog, basically at the end of the Celebration brochure, that are options if you have a $120 purchase. The first one is the heart-shaped stamp set and dies that I showed in the January 28th Facebook Live. and the other is this one, Corner and Blooms. But I think it's a fabulous choice. I also think it's really versatile. There are no sentiments with it, but you can use any sentiments you have. And, oh, that's why it didn't come up then, Nancy, yeah. It only shows you the offerings when you reach those totals. Celebration does continue through the end of February. So if you're waiting to make a purchase, know that you still have time to take advantage. If you're placing a very large order of $300 or more, you actually are going to get an additional $30 in Stampin' Rewards. So instead of the usual $36 for a $300 order, you're going to get $66 Stampin' Rewards to put towards free product. And if you don't have, I mean, even I don't typically order $300 at once just because, maybe with a pre-order if I'm getting ready to show things from a new catalog. But if you do not typically order, place large orders like that, you are welcome to gather orders of friends and family, other crafters, and pull them together and then get the additional rewards. We also have a great joining offer. And honestly, that joining offer is the best deal we offer. You pay $99 plus tax. It all ships free, and you get to choose $125 of product plus an additional $30 during celebration. So that would be $155 of product for $99 plus tax. It all ships free. Great, great deal. They also have a second option for joining during celebration. Instead of the extra $30 in product of your choice, you would get an exclusive stamp set made just for people who joined. Demonstrators weren't even able to purchase it, anything like that. And it's a pretty stamp set, it really is. And you get your choice of, let me pull a couple out here. In addition, you get your choice of 2 of the 4 Stampin' Right marker color family. So you can choose from brights, neutrals, regals, and subtles. You get to choose 2. So that also is a great, great value. And there's more information about that on my website under celebration. And also, what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, in the I'm kind of tongue-tied here. Also in the celebration brochure, that information is there. And if you can't find it, you just reach out to me. Call me, email me, go to stampinpeace.com, fill out a contact form. I got you covered. I got you covered. Okay, now I am going to, I'm changing up a little bit from my sample. I decided at this very moment that I'm going to do a little blending on here first. And it's not going to be real dark because I will be stamping over it. So using your ink pad and a blending brush, pick up some of that ink And then you're just going to swirl the ink onto your cardstock. Always start off of the cardstock. This is what happens if we start on the cardstock. If I put it on my cardstock and just start swirling, look what happens. I get that blotch. If I start off and then move, I get more of that soft blending, okay? And you can make this as light or as dark as you want. I'm going to stamp right there. And then I'm going to use the same color, Highland Heather, and stamp this sentiment, which says, "You're such a blessing." And, oh, I kind of wish I had stamped with Gorgeous Grape. Guess what? I'm going to flip this over and redo it because I think it'll look better with the darker shade, which is my original tent. And at the last moment, I decided, nope, I'll just use the same color. Maybe we'll stamp it and then flip it over and compare which we like better. But I have a feeling that I'm going to be happier with the sentiment stamped in the Gorgeous Grape, which is basically a shade darker. The cardstock, the card base, again, is Highland Heather. Okay, I'm kind of sticking to the same color scheme throughout. So it's either this or this. Thoughts? I know which I like better. I like the darker one better. So now I'm going to die cut this with one of the circle dies from the Stylish Shapes dies. The Stylish Shapes dies is a great, great versatile die set. If you don't have a lot of dies, I like this one because it is so versatile. Let me show it to you. Where is it? Here it is. So it's got all these shapes, circles, squares, and then two sizes of, longer and shorter banner cuts. But you can see how many different ones are in here. There's a total of 15 dies in here. So it's great for die cutting sentiments, but you can also die cut images as well. Oops. I have my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine basically right here to my right. I have a little basket that it sits in. My larger one is off there, off to the right on a shelf, because the mini one actually accommodates probably about 80% of our dies. So I'm using it more often, and I just like it sitting right here on my desk next to me. I'll pop this up with dimensionals. I'll have to remember after this live to grab another pack of the regular size dimensionals. I'm going to put this right in the middle. Just like that. I think I saw both gems, sequins, and the bow. So I think I'll just go with the bow this time for the first card. Actually, no, I won't. I'm going to do a bow for the second card. And then we'll do some kind of embellishment for the first card. I'm thinking either the iridescent pearls or iridescent sequins, or not sequins, faceted gems, or Oh, another good choice would be the sequins pack. Oops, that's not so straight. The sequins pack from the celebration brochure. I'm not sure if I used those with you yet. Now I have to decide top or bottom. Thoughts on that, top or bottom? I think either would be okay. But I'm kind of leaning towards putting it at the bottom. I'm going to grab some glue dots. When you're adhering bows made from ribbon, I think the easiest thing to do is just press the knot of the bow onto a mini glue dot, pick it up and place it exactly where you want it. Lori Hull, the mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine is not heavy. I also like to take it with me when I'm traveling, taking my crafts on the go, because it's lighter, takes up less space, that sort of thing. And this, let me see, I can think where they are. Okay, my friends, 1 second. I'm going to get those. Here we go. I have one that's opened. I used it for making class samples, so I'm not quite sure where I put it. But anyways, I wanted you to see this. This is one of the free options in the celebration brochure as well. And I love the colors in here. This is kind of like a berry burst. And these are iridescent, so they pick up a lot of the colors. Not only that you see in them, but they pick up colors that you're working with from your ink and your cardstock. And this is what I like to do. If I'm deciding, oh, I kind of like these. I didn't think I would, but I'm going to go with these purple ones. And I'll use my take your pick tool. I'm trying to decide where I want them. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. I don't know yet. There's too many choices, I think. That's why I can't decide. I'm gonna do something like this. And each of the colors has 2 sizes. And as you can see, they already have the adhesive on them, which is always a plus for me. Okay, my friends, what do you think? What do you think? And just for comparison's sake, here is the first card I made that has the little bow on. So really you could do a lot with embellishing. So here are the 2 cards made with Corner and Bloom. And then the first card also uses the sentiment from Spring Corners. And the second card uses a sentiment from Grateful Blessings. Okay, so I hope you love this demonstration. If you have not ventured into using Stampin' Blends, I highly encourage you to do that. Maybe buy 2 or 3 pairs in, it's $11 for a pair, and you get a light and dark shade of each. I would encourage you to maybe buy 2 blends, Stampin' Blends in 2 or 3 colors, and try them out, practice them. And if you decide you want other colors later, you can do that. But I think once you use them a little bit, you're just going to love them as much as I do. I mean, truly, I can't say enough good things about it. I can't say enough how much I love these. I really, really, really do. Okay, that's it for today. I think, I'm not sure if it's going to be my next Facebook Live or if I'm just going to make a video with it, but I have one more technique I want to show using this stamp set. So it'll be different than just stamping and coloring, but it's more of a technique based. So I have to decide if I'm going to do that as a Facebook Live or simply as a video for you. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a crazy, hectic, busy morning, and I was rushing to get here on time. So it means so much to me that all of you are here. And I have the Stampin' Up! Leaders Book Club at 3. And then right after that, I'll be heading to Andrea and John's, and I'm going to go watch Riley's swim lesson. She does the I don't know what they call it there, baby class, or it's babies and parents, or babies and a, guardian at the rec center. And she loves it so much that when they give her a bath, she will immediately lay on her tummy in the bath and start kicking her feet and moving her arms and blowing bubbles. It's kind of funny. So I'm excited to go watch her at her swim lesson and then have dinner with them as well. You all have a great night. Thank you again for your support, and happy stamping.